Mentre facciamo il cambio di computer, mi permetto di dire ancora due cose su Olu Oguibe, scrittore, artista multimediale, il cui lavoro è spesso a cavallo tra formalismo, minimalismo e impegno sociale. Le sue opere sono state esposte in musei e gallerie, così come in occasione di biennali e triennali. Oguibe ha realizzato diverse opere pubbliche in molti paesi e nel 2017 il suo Stranger and Refugees Monument, scultura pubblica esposta a Kassel, poi acquisita dalla città di Kassel in senso definitivo, quindi trasformata da opera temporanea in opera definitiva, vince anche, gli dà la possibilità di vincere l'Arnold Bode Prize per Documenta. È stato professore all'Università del Connecticut, dove vive, ma da poco appunto ha lasciato l'università per dedicarsi esclusivamente al suo lavoro artistico. Dico un'ultima cosa che appunto confesso la mia, il mio aver avuto un approccio prima a Oguibe come teorico, nel senso che io avevo letto questo, appunto, avevo visto la mostra Authentic Eccentric nella Biennale del 2001, che era una mostra molto interessante, molto bella, che in qualche modo ci costringeva a fare delle riflessioni diverse da quelle che in biennali si facevano, e anche attraverso un paio di libri, soprattutto The Cultural Game, un libro secondo me fondamentale, e poi l'altro libro che ho avuto il piacere di leggere è stato The Reading the Contemporary African Art, quindi altri libri che ci hanno permesso di approfondire e appunto quindi questo duplice aspetto che abbiamo sottolineato anche negli altri artisti che ci hanno preceduto è ben presente anche in lui, cioè questo di essere totalmente consapevole, totalmente essere un teorico anche, oltre a essere un artista. Ricordo l'ultima cosa che, ancora prima di dargli la parola, è il fatto che tra qualche giorno, l'8 di dicembre, l'8 di ottobre, scusatemi, ormai è tardi e sono stanco anch'io come tutti quanti noi, l'8 di ottobre al Pac, ma col K in fondo, cioè la Galleria Pac di Milano, ci sarà una sua mostra, quindi avremo anche l'occasione a breve di avere un approccio diretto con i suoi lavori. Grazie di essere qui e ci scusiamo per il ritardo con te e con tutte le persone, ma insomma c'è stata una discussione animata che credo continuerà anche dopo il tuo intervento. Thank you.
Thank you. And by the way, a slight, new information. Galleria Pac is now Gianpaolo Abbondio Gallery, so beginning this week, yes, beginning this week, and people can go, people can visit our show next week on the 8th of October. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible because we're not doing too well with time. So I'll read something very quickly and then show a couple of images, and then if there are questions, I can address those once I'm done. As I think was probably part of the introduction, I didn't understand because I didn't have my translator on, but I wrote theory and so on and so forth for many years before finally deciding to concentrate on just making art and leaving theory and curating and all those other things to other people. But back in the 90s and early 2000s, when I was still writing theory, I published a number of texts in which I set out my positions on public art, or if you like, art and the artist in the public space. And while those ideas are dispersed in several texts, I think they're probably best articulated in two closely related essays, which I would refer you to. These essays, I think, are available online, so there shouldn't be a problem. Shouldn't be a problem finding them. The first one is called The Artist in the Public Space from 2001. And the second one is called The Open Source Millennium and the Artist in Public, which is from 2004. And what I should do is, while you're going online to find the texts, I should summarize some of the ideas that are in those texts because they're also the ideas that then came to guide my own practice of making art in public spaces. The first one is that obviously a public space is a shared space. That's why it's public as opposed to private. And therefore it logically belongs to a community or to the community which uses it. As such, an intervention in that space automatically encroaches on the public's rights and must therefore take those rights into consideration. And I think the word encroachment is important, at least from my understanding of the practice of inserting art in public spaces. Incidentally, at least in my experience, many artists only view their interventions in the public space as edifying and civilizing, almost as a privilege for which the public ought to be grateful, and seldom as disruptions or acts of trespass. After all, most contemporary art interventions in public spaces are projections of individual vision. It's very rare that someone gets a commission and then they say to the community, you come up with the artwork and I'll help you produce it. That rarely happens. It's usually my idea, Tanya's idea, and then we introduce them to the public, and then we try to win them over, or we try to involve them in some form. No, Tanya, I don't think that you've made any work where you simply ask the public to They told you they wanted the building to be renamed. That's an exception. I think that's wonderful. But most often, it's basically we take the idea to the community. So in that sense, when we do that, I look at it as trespass, as an incursion, as an encroachment on somebody else's space. Because I'm the outsider, I'm coming from elsewhere. Very rarely do I get the opportunity to make work in my own community. I'm traveling around the world. Someone wrote an essay about this several years ago. You know, from one place to another, we travel from country to country, from community to community, and you know, with all the incestuous connections that are involved in these decisions and invitations, we go around introducing ideas to people, and we do our very best to involve them in the realization or in interrogation and so on and so forth. But it begins from a place of coming into someone else's space and someone else's community. And as such, quite often also, the artists turn out to be tyrannical when they make these interventions and incursions, because they have a set idea and they're very strict about how it has to be realized, and then there's conflict with all sorts of different interests in the community, trying to resolve what people actually want or would tolerate, as opposed to what the artist thinks is fit for the space or the occasion. And I think sometimes also, this splits certain communities. And so that you get some people who reject the work, and you get some who embrace the work. And then, my favorite, you get folks who don't really give a damn about the work, you know. Oh, okay, whatever. And sometimes the rejection is vehement, even violent. And I think we've had a few stories today about that kind of instance where the rejection, whether it's from the community or from certain interests in the community, becomes very violent or intense. So for me, I have, taking all these into consideration, I have a number of, if you like, guidelines or conditions that I like to meet